Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about adjusting your BaZi's climate. And this is it's another way to balance your chart, sort of like we did with elements, but it is different. This is focused on balancing your chart in a way that improves your problem-solving skills, and that improves your ability to succeed, to make money and be able to move forward in life, become, get a promotion, get a raise, all that kind of stuff. So it's focused on really your ability to solve problems. It's different than balancing your BaZi. There we're talking about balancing the elements, and this more has to do with your like your overall view of life, or your overall mental state, how easy it is for you to easily deal with problems. I mean, if you have a balanced BaZi, you tend to be able to deal with problems and your emotions and everything in a much more balanced way. So you don't get angry too easily. You, you know, uh, and even when things make you angry, you approach them in a more methodical way. So you don't, it's not all emotions. So this is one way to look at that. But adjusting your BaZi's climate is more precise. So in the balancing your BaZi, you just use an element. Could use the yin or yang version of it. It doesn't matter. Here it's more precise because it's saying you need to use the that particular element's skill set to become a better problem solver. Now, which of the 10 gods that you'll need, and there's sometimes more than one, but which one you need will depend on your day master and the season, which is the month in which you were born. If health is an issue, you use the useful god instead of trying to balance your climate or balance your chart. You use the useful god. So you need to know what you need to fix in your life, what part of your chart do you need to work on. Now, for climate adjustment, it's either going to be adjusted for temperature or it's going to be adjusted for humidity. Typically, it's not both, but one will look like you're doing both. So a BaZi will be classified as cold, warm, or hot. Sometimes people will say hot, damp, or dry. So it's pretty clear that if you have a cold BaZi, you need heat. If you have a warm or hot BaZi, you need something to cool it down. So that's the temperature adjustment. If it's damp, you need something to dry it. And if it's dry, you need some water. It's pretty straightforward. And the seasons themselves also have some general properties which go into automatically adjusting the climate. So sometimes a person born in a certain season automatically has a better overall chart for the climate based on the month they're born for the same day master. The spring months are the tiger, rabbit, and dragon months, and these are the Chinese solar months, not the lunar months, but the solar months. And it's considered well, it starts out as cool and goes to warm or hot, and it is wet. There's usually a fair amount of rain in the spring, for not everywhere, but on the climate as a whole. The summer months are the snake, the horse, and the goat months, and it's usually hot and dry. That's what its climate is. If the autumn months are the monkey, the rooster, and the dog months, and this starts out warm, goes to cool, and it's dry. So that's its general thing. And the winter months are the pig, the rat, and the ox months, and this is cold and wet. So you can pretty much tell what is needed. It's really the hot and the cold that need to have temperature adjustment, and these guys are temperature are roughly okay, so they need the humidity adjustment. Now, just as in the overall balancing of your chart, when they say use a certain element, they actually mean developing and using the skills of people that that already have a high level of that element. They are naturally good at certain things. That that element gives them these skills. You don't use the element as an element. You don't. If it says water, it doesn't mean you need to surround your house with a moat. Uh, it means something else. And a lot of people, even practitioners who don't have a good understanding of Chinese and the Chinese language texts out there, they get this wrong because they don't know any better. And they didn't have a good teacher, usually. Now, generally, picking up a skill that you have either a weak element or it's not an element that is in your chart, it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be useful. It's meant to make your life better. That means you're going to have to work at it. And of course, a lot of people don't like that. They don't want to have to learn something new. And that's where the problem lies if they're not happy with where they are. So you need to answer these two questions. Are you interested in an easy life, one that you don't have to work and don't have to learn anything new, and you are okay with your current level of success? The answer is yes or no. And if you want an easy life and you're not happy with your current level of success, the answer is no. Just to be clear about that. Or the other alternatives, are you willing to work hard, improve your skills to have a more fulfilling life and more success? This one might be no to begin with and yes second, but the answer then would have to be yes. So they come together. You probably only want half of it, but it's the second part that's the key. The answer is up to you. If you answer yes to this and no to this, and basically that's fine if you're happy with your current life, because you're doing okay in whatever your level of desired life, you're doing okay. If that's true, you can stop watching this video because you don't need the information that I'm going to give you, because this is all about how to improve your life, improve specifically your problem-solving ability. And the more problems you can solve, the more success you generally have. So most of this information comes from a paper. It's really like a journal, almost like a journal article, but it's not from a journal. It seems as though it is a group, or maybe it's an individual, but they go by the name of the Great Tao is Simple. That is my best understanding. This, of course, is translated to English. And according to that, not everybody needs climate adjustment. And I will try to put this in the information about I want to put this link there. So this is a Chinese language text, just so you know it right from the beginning. But I'll try to put this in the description of the video so you can find this and click on it there. You're not going to click on the video because the video is just an image where I am narrating. So it's, of course, not an interactive thing. Now, if you're born in the winter and summer seasons, it says you need a temperature adjustment. The winter, of course, needs fire, it needs some heat, and the winter needs water because water cools. You may think you're adjusting for humidity, but what you're doing is adjusting for temperature. I think everybody knows when it rains, it cools down. It may be stickier, it may feel not so cool, but the actual temperature is reduced because as the rain falls, it continues to evaporate, and that cools the air. It's simple physics. Now, those born in the goat and the dog months need water because these are the months that are dry. And these are two animal signs are the earth animal signs. And those born in the ox and the dragon months, again, two earth animals, they need dryness. So these two need the humidity adjustment. And then it goes on to say that those born in the tiger, rabbit, monkey, or rooster months need no climate adjustment. And because of what follows, I actually had my husband read this, and he is a native Chinese speaker and reader. So he says, yes, this is exactly what it says. However, when you read farther in this, it goes on to give adjustments for the tiger, rabbit, monkey, and rooster months. Those, and for everyday master, it tells you this. So it's self-contradictory, but I think what that means really, not said so well, but that these 4 months, people born in these 4 months tend to have less problems, and maybe they do not need an adjustment, but if they're having problems, he tells you how to adjust it. That seems to be what's going on. But it is a little confusing, and he does have some Chinese spelling errors in here, where he's mixing up the G, the yin earth, with the snake. Now, those two characters are very, very similar. And I think he also has some issue with the dog. There's another character that is, it has a slightly different style stroke in one place, and it means two different things. And so there's a few spelling errors, but it's understandable. You know, it's like a typo. You can understand what it means. So although he does state that those born in the tiger, rabbit, and monkey or rooster months need no climate adjustment, maybe it's not absolutely necessary, maybe that's what he means, they do still have a useful God. And you can still look at the chart balance, the overall elemental balance, that is. But they definitely have a useful God. Those born in the goat or dog months, they definitely have climate adjustment gods. Usually one, sometimes there's some extra auxiliary ones, but it's usually going to be metal and water, and they also have a useful God. And as does the ox and the dragon, but in this case it's wood and fire. Now, these three are all the animals born in the spring or the fall or autumn. And finding the useful God is not easy for these people. And if you happen to fall into any one of those months, I can't tell you what your useful God is. I can tell you which group of elements may be your useful God, but I can't pick out the one. You need a real seasoned practitioner to be able to do this. And they probably won't be cheap because they'll be good. So, you know, but remember, the useful God is about health. If you're not having health problems, you don't necessarily need to know what your useful God is. And in fact, you can experiment because you'll have a few to pick from and see if one makes you feel better. That is usually how you would do it if you don't want to pay to find out what your useful God is. Now, people born in the winter, they have their both their climate adjustment god and useful god is almost always fire. They do have to have some fire in their chart, though. And even if it's only in one place in the hidden stem, that's good enough. People born in the summer have both their climate adjustment god and their useful god as water. Again, they must have a little bit of water, at least one little bit of water somewhere in their chart to have water as their useful god. And if they don't, if the winter-born person has no fire or the summer-born person has no water, you're back to having to get probably a master to look at your chart, because this is fairly rare and it's very hard then to determine what it is. And so, again, remember, useful God is about health. Here, when it comes to climate adjustment, they usually give you an alternative if there's an issue where you don't have something that you really need that's missing. They often give you a different way to get to it. So it's not quite as bad as the useful God, because of course, to me, health is one of the most primary things, because if you don't have health, it's very hard to succeed. So that's why useful gods are very important if you're not healthy. But if you're healthy, don't worry about it. You can concentrate on being good, which is what this video was mostly about. Now, the elements, the animal signs have elements associated with them, and they're based on the 24 mountains. And then the 4 earth animals come in, and they come in on basically in the positions where we have the non-element, non-animal sign. There's 4 of them, and that finishes everything. So what we have here is, in the springtime, the tiger and the rabbit, which are wood animals, they are cold and wet wood, or warm and wet wood. So this, is warming up. Whereas the dragon is warm and wet earth. So these are the wet wood, this will be wet earth. The summer, it's dry, so every one of these is dry. The horse and the snake are associated with fire, and so it's dry fire. And it's either warm or hot. And the goat is hot and dry earth. And so this tells you something. This is why the dragon and the goat, the ox and the dog are treated a bit differently, because it's a different element. And so in autumn, metal is the strong one. So, and the monkey and the rooster are metal. And so this is why it's hot or warm and dry metal. But the dog is warm and dry earth. And the winter months, they are cold and wet, either water or earth, where the pig and the rat, they have water as their element. So this actually tells you exactly what needs to change. So in the spring and the autumn, these are humidity adjustments, because they're basically within a okay temperature range. So here we tend to adjust the humidity, and in the summer and the winter, we adjust the temperature. So there, in this article that I quoted earlier, the one that I'm primarily using, there is usually a main climate adjustment element that is one of the 10 gods, and often there are also supporting adjustment elements. Sometimes they are supporting the main climate, sometimes they're adjusting, also having some effect on the daymaster. So it can be either one. So, and what this article that I'm using agrees fairly well with other stuff that's out there, but it's not like this is the one set in stone and the one that's absolutely correct. But in general, it's correct, and it's at least on the right path. Now, the adjustment for each daymaster, again, will depend on the month of birth. So for the same daymaster, depending what month you were born, you may have very different recommendations. So this is why you have to learn this, or have to know exactly what to do for your particular situation. Just as in using your useful God or balancing your BaZi, using an element is learning, expanding, practicing the skills that given element naturally exhibits. This is not easy for most people, but this is how to improve your life. And if you don't work at this, your life is very unlikely to improve. You might get lucky, that's always possible. But relying on luck usually makes you old and poor because luck is fairly hard to come by. So, what do we mean by the skills? So, wood, if it says you need wood as either a useful God or as a balancing, well, actually, a useful God, it's more specific, and you can watch the video about that. But if we're talking about balancing your BaZi or using climate adjustment, we're talking about growth. That is learning, becoming better at something, expanding your knowledge base, expanding your skills in general. And if it's the Yang version, it's a little more dedicated, it's a little bit narrower focused, but it's still learning more and understanding more and being able to approach a problem in a different way. It's just a little bit more restricted than the Yin. The Yin version is more flexible. They tend to have a broader spectrum of interests, whereas the Yang tends to be a little bit more restricted. So, for example, a Yang wood daymaster or someone strong in Yang wood may just be interested in one thing, let's say science. Whereas a Yin wood person could be interested in science and metaphysics and art and language, and they have a very broad spectrum of interest compared to the Yang. But it's all about learning and growing, becoming better, learning more, understanding more. That's what wood is all about. When it comes to fire, it's about passion and energy too. The Yang is more energetic. So they tend to be people who are quite physically active because they have a lot of energy and it feels good to get the energy out so they can concentrate better on something else once they have, worked out and, gotten rid of some of the excess energy. And they usually are quite passionate people. They have some real interests, and they do tend to be a little bit more restricted because, they have this interest, and the rest of it, yeah, they'll work on it, but it's not a big deal. They really do have a passion. The Yin is more transformational. So this is the idea of, okay, they still have a lot of energy. What they want to do, however, is not just work out or play games. They may be someone who like builds a house or builds furniture. They take the raw materials of wood and they create something out of it. So they transform things. So they still want to do things. They have the energy to want to do things, but they don't just want to exercise. They want something real to come out of their efforts. Something that can actually be used. So it is a different type of viewpoint, but they still both use energy and they both use passion. For Earth, this is more about stability. And this is probably a bit more problematic in our current time when things are changing so fast. People that have a lot of Earth in their chart tend to be not so comfortable now because things are changing fast and they're just not very comfortable with it. So this is the one that has the most challenges. But sometimes you need some stability. For example, if what you will see later, water is about adaptability. Sometimes they're too adaptable and they need some stability. So the yang version is very stable. This is usually represented by a mountain mostly made of rock that doesn't change. It takes millennia to see changes in a mountain, unless humans have something to do with it, or a volcano. But they're very, very stable. Whereas yin is represented by the soil where we grow plants that feed us and feed animals that feed us. So this is more nurturing. It is still wants stability, but its point of view is different. These people like to help others, whereas these people are just more like, let's just keep the status quo. I'm happy. I help others, yes, but my whole point of living is to feel secure. Whereas these people are trying to help others feel better and feel more secure. So it's a slightly different viewpoint. For metal, it's mostly about focus. Yang tends to be more in depth and smaller in scope, whereas yin is broader and a little less depth. But they can focus. I mean, they look at things a little bit broader and then they pick something to focus on. Whereas yang pretty much zooms in to one place pretty quickly. So it's just slightly different methods of becoming focused. Adaptability is water. Water, it conforms to the container it's in, so it's extremely adaptable. The yang version is a bit more dedicated to change for change's sake, perhaps. And they tend to go more deep into, okay, this needs changing, so let's see how far that can go. Whereas yin is a bit more, it's less depth and broader, just like for metal. It says, yes, all these things can change. Any one of these is better than doing nothing, but maybe we don't zoom in, go really deep, really fast, because a lot of for example, Earth people will have a real problem with this. So it is broader and shallower, but it still is all about looking at various different aspects, accepting a lot of different viewpoints, and they're okay with it, and it doesn't bother them, whereas it would bother someone who has a lot of earth in their chart. Now, as we go through this, you may see there are some combinations of day master and month that the day master strength can come into play. And this is the table, and you've seen this before if you've watched the video I'll talk about in a second. This is actually just from there. So you find out what month you were born, and you find your element, your day master element, and this will tell you what strength it is. So it's pretty straightforward. Now, also the overall chart strength may also come into play. So there, I have the video that talks about day master strength and chart balance, tells you both things in the same video. If you need to understand that, you can watch that. But the BaZi calculator, the free BaZi calculator website, has, I think it will tell you the overall strength. It won't tell you this, but this is an easy table to use. So you'll get that if you do the free BaZi calculator website analysis. Joey Yap doesn't tell you this, but he does in a more general way by looking at your chart. But this is very specific. Now, I am going to be pronouncing these in the Chinese way. I'm not going to be saying yang wood, yin wood, and that gets really old. So you may want to take a screenshot of this So I will have the character written in Chinese, and then you will have this listed here so you know what I'm talking about. And these are pronounced jia, yi, bing, ding, and I'll try to be very careful with those two because they're very close together in pronunciation. Wu, ji, geng, xin, ren, and kui. And I might pronounce it as kui, more of a K sound, which is what I usually hear. But that may be my weirdness of my ears. Or it might actually be more of a Cantonese pronunciation. But either way, it's the only one that sounds even somewhat like that. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just providing you a English language translation of the text from the Great Taoist Simple article that I mentioned quite a bit ago. But I will also tell you what it means in terms of actions. And I have a very specific reason for doing both. I could just go to what does it mean, but I think you miss a real important point if I just do that. I want to make it clear that when the Chinese text says use an element, it means perform certain actions or gain certain skills. This idea, use an element, is a type of code. That's like saying if you say, I am a Yang Fire Daymaster. If you tell me that, I know that you're very likely to be very passionate, have quite a bit of energy, you can really get things done, and that you're a go-getter. I mean, that's code. The idea, Fire Day Master, that's code for these properties of a person. And that's exactly what using an element means. It's code for properties of basically that person. And that is a person who has that element. So unless you take a class in Qigong or BaZi, you won't understand this. And of course, I have taken classes in both, especially I just recently finished a BaZi class. And if you don't understand this, and you don't understand Chinese, and you don't understand this whole idea, you see people who are practicing, and that's, I'm air quoting here, BaZi, with the idea that, oh, using an element means actually physically putting that element into your life. That's dead wrong. That's not what it means. Remember, this is code. And so if you hear someone say, oh, you need fire, so wear red, they don't understand this. And this is really, really crucial if you want to improve your life. So someone tells you to wear red as a BaZi practitioner, you pretty much can ignore them, and because they really don't understand this key point. So if you are watching more than one of the day masters, one of the elements, I do both the yin and yang together, then you can go to this time, and it will tell you, it will give you to this slide, and you can just start watching the rest of the information and skip the intro because the intro will be the same. So let's talk about yang water. Yang water represents adaptability. It's a little bit more focused than yin water. Yin water is like go with the flow, I don't care what happens. Whereas yang water enjoys being flexible and enjoys looking at things in all these different ways, but they tend to be a little bit more serious, a little bit less, I don't care what happens, that attitude, just go with the flow. They're a bit less of that, which does help them to accomplish more in their lives in general. But they do need a resource to give it the ability to focus. Now, resource here for water is metal. So that's why, and metal is about focus. So that is why it needs a resource. So we'll start with the spring as normal. And in the spring, wood is the strongest one. Of course, if wood is too strong, it creates growth without application. So Wood is the output of water. So there is a danger here that you have a lot of ideas and you never get anything done because you are feeding the wood, and the wood is just about learning and learning new skills, but not necessarily applying them. And that is a real danger here. So a run water daymaster born in the month of the tiger has these are its climate adjustment. So uh, it is said if there is no, and I can't remember how to pronounce this, but what this is, it's the combination of friend and Rob Wealth that is given what Joey Apple called the companion. He calls this the companion. So you are always going to have some friend because you have your daymaster is its own friend. So you'll always have some friend in your chart. So if you're missing this, that means you're missing Rob Wealth. You have to have both to have this. You must have both the friend and the Rob Wealth to have this formation. So because you'll always have friend, it means that if you're missing Rob Wealth, which in this case is yin water, then then the earth is not necessary. The Wu earth is not necessary. But uh, if that is the case, then the metal, gung metal, becomes primary with the Bing fire as an assistant. But if water is high, regardless of whether or not you're missing Rob Wealth, you do need to have some earth. And being high means basically over 60%. And the higher it is, the more likely you are to need this. So a Runwater Daymaster, born in the month of the rabbit, it needs the metal for focus, of course, and it may need some earth for stability. But that is really only needed if water is very high. Because remember, water is very adaptable, and it can be a little too relaxed when the water is high. And so we need to use some earth, which represents a mountain, to stabilize it. So the mountains basically create a division between the land and the water in the real world, and that's why that idea is used here. A Runwater Daymaster born in the month of the dragon basically needs a bit of focus through the metal, and it also needs it to generate some more water because the wood can use a lot of that water. And if metal is high, you need to use the fire to control the metal. You do want to have some metal there, but if the metal is too high, again, that's over 60%. Actually, too high is probably over 85%. But if this seems to be a problem where you're too focused, then you use the fire to control it. And of course, as usual, I'm going to talk about what this actually means. So for the Runwater, born in the month of the tiger, you need to focus on the big picture, and this acts as a guide to help you find a solution. And that, of course, when you can solve the problem, it creates a better chance for success. But if you have no gui, no yin water in the chart, in your chart in this case, then stabilization isn't necessary. That is what the earth, the Wu earth represents. But even if you don't have this and water is high, and that usually means over 85%, then you seek stability through something like a routine. It doesn't have to be a routine, it could be a really good relationship, but you need something stable in your life. And so so when things become unstable for whatever reason, it probably affects your ability to solve problems. That's what this is saying. If your water is high, and actually high could mean anything above 60%, but I don't think it's a problem until it's maybe above 80%. Uh, but you have to judge for yourself whether or not this is a problem. Now these two are grayed out, of course, because the author of this article I'm translating says that the tiger, rabbit, monkey, and rooster don't need climate adjustment, but then he gives climate adjustment. So I think these people are less likely, but if you have a problem, this is what you need. So for the Ren Daymaster born in the month of the rabbit, you're focusing on the big picture. That allows you to find a solution because you see the problem as a whole. That you see everything about it. When you see that, you can usually focus in on what you need to do. And focus is a issue for water people who have water daymasters. They have a tendency to be a little too flexible. So focusing is important. If water is high, again, you use the Wu Earth to stabilize. And if you are run water, born in the dragon month, here you do focus on the big picture. And if metal is high, you also have to use passion because otherwise you could become too focused. The passion helps you focus in the right place. Because otherwise you may focus on a lot of different things and not quite sure where to focus because you don't have, I mean, the big picture is too big for you. It is a little too confusing. There's too many possibilities, and that's why a passion can help. So we move on to summer. Now, summer, fire is strong. Water puts out fire, so water is actually weakened in the summertime. It is about as weak as it can be because it's being used to put out the fire, to balance the very usually quite hot fire. And remember, summer is hot and dry, so it really, really needs water. And so that means that even though you naturally exhibit flexibility, you still need more. So a runwater born in a month of the snake still needs water, even though it is water, but it also needs metal. So the metal is focus. That focus allows you to be more flexible because you now are, I mean, you're flexible in the right direction. And of course, this water is needed for climate adjustment because this is hot in the summer and it's dry. It's actually you're doing the water to adjust the temperature more than the humidity, but it does both. So it's actually kind of nice that it does both. If you are run water born in the month of the horse, you need a lot of resources and you do need some more water too. Now, this water, the run water, is a bit more focused. The gooey water is a bit more flexible, more going with the flow, being a little bit less uptight about ideas, just kind of letting everything flow. So it's a different viewpoint. Here you are focusing on really finding something new. Here you kind of just let it develop naturally. So there is a difference between the two. It's not a big difference, and sometimes it's hard to tell which one you're using. But you definitely need water, absolutely. And of course, in real life, this represents rainfall. And if you are a run daymaster born in the month of the goat, you actually need some metal to help you produce some of the water, but you also need jaw wood. Now, the sin metal is used to create water, and because it's metal that creates water, and the jaw wood actually represents a tree, so it's the tree roots breaking up the soil, allowing the water to penetrate. And when that penetrates, that allows more, well, it actually allows trees to grow, or plants to grow at least, and that allows more ideas and growth to happen. And really, everybody needs growth in their life. They need to become better at whatever they're doing, and that is basically growth. So everybody needs that. This is the way to get to it from this point. So what this actually means, if you're run water, born in the month of the snake, you need to have flexibility, but that flexibility allows you to look at the big picture and then decide, after you understand the big picture, where to go to get to a more detailed thing. Now, if you can do that, allow flexible thinking, and you may have to seek it a bit, because this can have a little lack of water. You will be able to come up with better solutions because you see more possibilities. And basically the same thing is true of the horse. It's just a slightly different form of, um, of using the flexibility. Here you do really focus on the big picture and look at this. Here you just sort of let your mind wander and just focus on maybe a bunch of different things, and you will find something in maybe a whole nother topic that you see can be a way to solve your problem in the problem that you're dealing with. So you need some downtime for this guy. You need some time just to let your mind wander. Here, you better off being a little more focused. And here for the goat, the run water, born in the month of the goat, you're using focus and you're using growth. You're using education. So education, in this case, education often is needed to see the big picture, to be able to focus on the big picture. So these two usually go together. And again, growth and education, that can come from formal education, or it can come from reading books or watching videos, things like this. So, education is general education. You're learning something new. So for the run water, born in the month of the monkey, which is part of autumn, where metal is already strong, so that's kind of good because that means that it naturally produces water. So here we don't need focus quite so much because we have the focus. So here we're going to be using stability and some transformational passion. So this is a little strange because Earth actually produces metal, and I don't know why it says in the thing that it controls it, but that's what the translation says. But anyway, ignore that for now. But you're going to use, this is passion, of course, and this acts as an assistant. It helps guide you. And this transformation, it's more of a transformative type of passion where you want to actually create something real. So that's what the ding is. For the rooster with a run water day master, it's a little bit complicated, and the translation was ununderstandable. It didn't make any sense. So I had my husband do a little more searching on a certain terminology, which is what made it confusing. But basically it says you need to use ja, which is, education. And if you don't have any, then you have to use focus to produce the water. Now, here's where the confusion lies. In the article that I referenced earlier, way back in the beginning, it says to use yang metal. But the one that discussed the terminology that confused me, and of course my husband searched for it in Chinese and could read it better, it says to use sin metal, to use the yin version of metal. So I would say it's still about focus. The sin metal is a little broader than the gung metal. So you can try both and see which one works best for you. Now, the source that says to use sin metal is this one. And yes, it's an extremely long URL, but you know, and it's all in Chinese. This is also in Chinese. So you have to translate it anyway, unless you can read Chinese. If you are a run water day master, born in the month of the dog, you're going to be using Jia and Bing. Now, Jia actually reduces the earth in the dog. So this is because the dog is actually an earth animal, and it has earth in its hidden stem. And you will assist it with Bing. So this means for the monkey-born run day master, you are going to use stability to strengthen your ability to focus on the big picture. Passion will act as an assistant to allow your natural flexibility to focus on something a little bit more useful, something that could actually happen, could actually be created in real life. Because that is what you really need. I mean, if you are creating something new, if it's not something that can be used ultimately in real life, uh, it's a great idea, but it never goes anywhere. So this is why we're talking about Ding, where you actually are trying to create something useful in real life. That is what we're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have passion. It is part of passion. It's just a passion to make sure that something works in real life. So the rooster-born run day master needs education. This is kind of key, and this will help them know what to focus on. Because sometimes you have an idea how to deal with a problem, but you might not be right. And the education helps you be able to figure out, basically understand the whole thing so you know what to focus on. Now, if you don't have any Jia wood in your chart at all, then you need to just use focus to try to solve the problem. And it will be a little tougher. You can use education, and you probably should try it, but it's going to be harder to do than someone who actually has some Jia wood in their chart. You may have to study longer. It's not useless, it's just harder to do. And if you are a run day master born in the month of the dog, education is really, really important. It helps basically not just reduce cloudy thinking, it helps to reduce scattered thinking, which is, I think, basically cloudy thinking. You just don't know where to focus. Now, passion also assists in the focus, and that will help you focus in on the best direction or best way to solve the problem. So this works. I mean, these two together actually tend to work very well, almost for everybody. But in this case, it works very, very well. So now we go on to the winter months. Water is already strong, and you have a water day master. So in general, flexibility isn't terribly important for you. You are quite flexible, but you may be too flexible, and you may not be able to focus. And so if you are born in the month of the pig, you need Bing, you need a passion. And if you have a lot of wood in your chart, then you need to weaken it with earth, and that's this one. And also you can use metal to control the wood. So wood is your output. That is for a water day master, wood is your output. So you may have too many good ideas, and you never finish one before you start on another. And that is a problem for generally for people with water as a day master. They have a hard time actually getting things to fruition, especially if they have a decent amount of wood, because they have more of an idea person. And that can work if you are in a position where that's all you need to do. But those positions are very rare, and you have to be very lucky to get one of them. So This will help you deal with real life. Now, if you are a run day master born in the month of the rat, you're going to use the, again, stability from the earth and some passion to prevent your flexibility from being too flexible. I mean, because you're already, given the water is already strong, this is a real problem. You can be too scattered. So this helps you focus in. And if you have the ox, then you you are going to need the fire and the wood. And so, but it depends on when you were born. If you're born in the first half of the month, it's really fire that you need. And in the second half of the month, you need both fire and wood. And and so since the ox has earth in its hidden stems, the jaw wood helps break up the soil. That's its purpose, and this is how it is talked about in in the article that I referred to at the beginning of this video. So what does this mean? Well, for the pig-born run water, passion is necessary. This is key. You have to be passionate about something so that you have a focus. Now, if your wood is high, that's your output, and you can see that on your spiderweb chart from Joey app. If that's your highest one, then this is probably an issue for you. You need to have some stability, perhaps in routine, focusing a certain amount of time every day or every week or whatever on a particular problem. And that focus will help you solve that problem. And it's good if you can do it daily or almost daily, at least during the weekdays. Otherwise, you have a tendency to jump around from place to place and nothing gets done. And that's just generally a problem for all water day masters. So if you are a run water born in the month of the rat, you really need stability. Stability usually comes from routine. That's the easiest way to do it, but it can come from a really good person in your life. That is also possible. But routine is the easier way to do it. And you also need passion. And this reins in your scattered thoughts because you're very likely to be quite flexible and think about a lot of different things. And of course, when you can focus on the problem, you're more likely to be able to solve it. And again, solving problems is why we're doing this, because this helps you have a better career. So this helps you earn more money. That's what this is all about. And for the ox, you have basically passion. That's Bing. And if you're born in the first half of the month, that's all you really need. You need a passion and you automatically go in the right direction. But if you're born in the second half, you also need to add education. And education is just as important. So this helps you be able to focus on the right part of the big picture. And makes your passion much more useful for you. And you also look at different perspectives that you might not have thought of otherwise through education, although that isn't usually such a big problem for a water day master because they tend to look at different perspectives pretty easily. But this one might still give you something that you might not have otherwise thought about. So education is really important. Now, again, this does not have to be formal education. It can be apprenticeship. It can be just learning something by reading or being on the web. So now we come to yin water. Now, yin water is a lot more, well, maybe not a lot more flexible, but it's quite flexible, a lot less focused. These people often are, well, I'll just, let life tell me what to do. It's whatever happens, happens. I'll just go with the flow. I mean, you may actually hear them say, I'm just going with the flow. And it's an interesting way to live. I think it makes life more exciting to be this way, but it also usually doesn't lead to much success because you're just too scattered. You're not applying yourself very well. So they do need resources to give them focus, which also helps them get a purpose. They develop a purpose. They understand why they're here. Whereas someone who just goes with the flow doesn't really understand why they're on the planet, why they're alive, what is their purpose in life. That is often a problem for someone with a yin water as their day master. They're just too relaxed. It's not a bad way to live, but it also is not a very successful way to live. So here we start again with the spring. The spring wood is the strongest, and water feeds the wood. And so you have a tendency to perhaps learn a lot, but you don't apply it. But you may just feel weakened by learning. So there's two ways this could go. So what you need is you need some metal to focus and a passion, and that's the Bing. And so you need them both. Now, if you have no yin, well, yin metal, you use yang metal. But basically, you need some metal. If you are born in the month of the rabbit and you're a Gui day master, you need basically focus. You need metal both types. And it helps to have both types, but you must at least have the sin metal. And this, of course, helps you focus. And if you were born in the month of the dragon, you need to add fire. And you need to add some wood. Now, the dragon is an earth animal, so it has earth in its hidden stem. And the wood, which represents a tree, helps break up the earth that's in the dragon. So that makes it more useful. And that allows you to extract the metal. And of course, it depends. That's really true if you're born in the second half of this month. In the first half, you just need to have a passion. In the second half, you need the passion plus the ability to break up the earth. So what does this mean? Well, it means that for the tiger-born Gui water day master, they need passion. They have to have a passion to be able to focus. Otherwise, they're too scattered. And that will help them be able to solve problems because now they have a pathway to solve a problem. And of course, that tends to lead to better success. If you are a rabbit, Gui water day master, rabbit born month, that is, and then basically you just need focus. You need to focus on the problem, and you don't necessarily need a passion. So this is a bit more versatile, so you can work kind of almost at any job. You don't have to be passionate about it, but you have to learn to focus. And that is a problem for many water day masters, that they can easily be too scattered. Now, some trial and error may be necessary to discover if you need the yang version or the yin version. They're slightly different. This one's a little more focused. This one's a little broader, but they both focus on the problem, and so they look for solutions that are out there, of course, and maybe have to come up with some of their own. So this can be useful, but it also can be quite hard. So if you are a dragon born, that dragon month born Gui day master, then if it's in the first half of the month, you just need passion. That will give you what you need. If you're born in the second half, you have to be a little bit more focused on understanding the big picture. And then you also need some education to be able to focus the what you are trying to do, the education helps you focus in the right direction. And again, this education can be traditional education, like in a university, or it can just be education from a book or online or as an apprentice. This all will help you know what to focus on. That's kind of the key of the education. Now you know what to focus on. Whereas in the first half of the month, that somehow you just have the skill that once you have the passion, you know what to focus on. So now we go to summer. Summer is fire. Water puts out fire, so water is fairly weak. So in general, you're not as flexible. You're a little more serious. But water is also used as a climate adjustment in summer. So what you need is actually ultimately more water. But to do that, if you are born in the month of the snake, you're going to use metal. You're going to use focus to produce the water. And the water, of course, is flexibility, ideas, all this kind of stuff. If you are born in the month of the horse, it's a bit more complicated. So you still need metal, and these are two types of metal. The yang metal is a little more focused. The yin metal is a little bit broader, and you usually need both. And they do both produce water, which is what you need because you are being already weakened because the fire is so strong in the summer. And so you also need some extra water. So you do have to focus a bit on being more flexible. Even though you're a generally flexible person, you still need more flexibility because that is toned down if you're born in the summer. And so it means you do have to deliberately try to be more flexible, whereas most other people who have a water daymaster don't have to concentrate on being more flexible, but here you do. And this is the month where we have the summer solstice. So this is when the sun is the hottest, or at least in the northern hemisphere. But it'll be about as hot as it can get in terms of intensity of sunlight. If you are a yin water daymaster born in the month of the goat, it is also a bit complicated. It has the same things. The first half is just like the horse. If you're born in the first half of the month, just like the horse, in the second half, you don't really need the water so much because it's starting to cool down. And so your natural ability with flexibility is usually enough. So again, in real life, this means if you are yin water daymaster born in the month of the snake, you need to focus on the big picture to be able to solve problems. And you need to have a decent understanding of it. That's why you're focusing on it. And that will, when you understand the big picture, you know what to do. You know how to approach the problem that you need to solve. If you're yin water, born in the month of the horse, you need quite a bit of stuff. You need to focus on the big picture combined with a deliberate flexible thinking. You really have to focus on being more flexible because your natural flexibility is really reduced if you're born in this month. And if you are a yin water daymaster born in the month of the goat, then you use the same rules for the horse if you're born in the first half of the month. And if you're born in the second half, just understanding the big picture and focusing on that is usually enough. Flexibility helps, but because this is when the summer is starting to cool off, this is when you don't need this energy quite so much. You don't need the extra flexibility because your natural flexibility is usually enough. So now we go to autumn. Autumn, metal is the strongest. Now, metal is, of course, about focus, and if you overuse it, you miss the big picture. Now, but this metal is actually going to produce water. So this is going to help you kind of naturally. And so that is good. So if you're born in the month of the monkey and you're yin water day master, you really just need ding. And this is the explanation they give um, in the in the article that I'm translating. But it's best if you have a goat, a dog, or a horse somewhere else in your chart. That helps to give you some natural ability with this. Now, Ding is not just passion, it's also transformation. So it's a different type of focus, but it's still a passion in general. Now, if you were born in the month of the rooster with the Gui as your day master, then you need a couple things. You need some extra metal to help you focus, and you need some fire. And it says this forms warm water and warm metal. This is the literal translation. I don't exactly know what it means, but it basically means it works synergistically. I mean, that is, this warm water, warm metal is some sort of a standard term. But what you just need to know is that these two work together and it's better than either one. So if you're born in the month of the dog with the Guya Day Master, here you need quite a bit of things. One thing that you do need that you don't need for many of the others is some wood. Now the dog has earth in its hidden stem, so we need the wood to break that up, and that's what that's there for. But we also need focus, and we need a little bit of support with the water, because the earth, the extra earth that comes with the dog, may muddy the water, may make your thinking not quite so clear. This is best if you don't have any yang earth in the stems, in the heaven stems, that top row. But it's just better. It's not a disaster if you do have it. So what does this mean? Now remember, Ding is passion, but it's more of a transformative passion. That is, you just don't want to have a passion with ideas. You need a passion where you see your ideas actually come to fruition in real objects that people can touch, or that somehow change their lives. And so that's the difference between Bing, which is okay with transformation, but it's also okay with just ideas. But the Ding, it wants to see something real come out of it. And if you have the goat, the horse, or the dog somewhere else in the chart, it is a bit better, and that's because there's some Ding in at least one of these. I know the horse has it, but I do think that the dog does too, and I don't remember the goat. But there, that is. Now, if you're born in the month of the rooster with the Guya water as your day master, you need some passion, which is Bing, and you need some focus. And you focus on the big picture with the passion together allows you to figure out how to solve things. Because here, we usually have enough flexible thinking naturally that you don't need it. But if you're born in the month of the dog, we do add water back into here because this has earth. The dog has earth in its hidden stem, and that tends to muddy the water, makes maybe your thinking not quite so clear. So you need to be a little more flexible, and you need education. Education will broaden your perspective, and then you can focus on the big picture in a way that is a little more guided and not so random, because you're already kind of a random thinker with the Guya water as your day master. So this helps overall, and depending on how much water is in your chart, how much earth is in your chart, the water may be a little bit muddied. So that is why you may need a little bit more flexible thinking, a little bit clearer thinking when when the water can overwhelm what earth is there. So you're adding water because of that, because the earth might make you not have clear thinking. So the last one, the water in wintertime. So winter water is the strongest, but overuse of water can lead to lack of direction. Just a bit too much go with the flow, but this is a real significant problem for some people. So if you are a yin water daymaster born in the month of the pig, you need quite a bit to fix it. You do need some focus, and that will counteract the wood of the pig. These are metal. They actually take care of the wood. They reduce the wood. If water is high, you need to have earth to control it. And if metal is high, you need the ding fire to control the metal. So it depends on what's in your chart exactly what you're going to need. And this is assuming where we say you need metal, you don't have a lot. If you have a lot, then you don't need to add any. You simply need to use the ding to control it. Now, the the person who has the yin water daymaster born in the month of the rat basically needs the fire for climate adjustment. That's, of course, passion. And they need focus. And that gives them a source for the water. That's what it says. But they need focus to focus on the right part. This is already so abundant in water. And so sometimes what is being said and in the Chinese article that I'm doing doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you think about it as terms of action, it does make more sense. So the last one is yin water, born in the month of the ox. They need fire. Basically, this is just fire. The ding, no, this is bing. The bing is definitely used for climate adjustment, and the ding helps also. Now, it's best if you have the tiger, the snake, the horse, or the goat someplace in your chart. But if you don't, you don't. It's just better. It just works better. Now, if a fire bureau exists, which is the tiger, horse, and dog, someplace it has to be in the other three because this is your month branch, then you also can use metal. But that is only if you have the fire bureau, because that gives you some replacement for if you're weak in fire. Now, being born at night is an advantage, apparently because it's easier for this fire to shine. But it's a little hard to say. So what this means really in real life is that you need to focus on the big picture. That counteracts the weakness of having too much flexibility, because that, especially with water already there, water is very strong, you can be too scattered. You can have too much flexibility and be thinking about too many different ideas. And many of the ideas may not help you solve a problem. So here, that focus helps reduce your level of flexibility to a point where you can actually use your flexibility to solve problems. Now, if water is high, you need stability. And water being high is probably over 85%. Even above 60 might be a problem. You kind of have to judge it, how scattered your thinking is. The more scattered it is, the more likely you need stability. Now, most of the time, yin water daymasters, even yang water daymasters, don't like stability. They don't like routine. But your whole day doesn't have to be routine. You can use part of the day for a specific purpose, basically perhaps focusing on the big picture, trying to solve a particular problem. Set aside an hour or two, and then you can do what you want. So you use stability for a very specific purpose. You don't do a whole routine for a whole day, but you do it for the things that are important. Now, if metal is high, you use passion to control it. So metal, if you do have high metal, you probably also, that produces a lot of water. So you tend to be even more scattered, whereas the passion helps narrow your focus to the important things rather than just being maybe a little too broad. If you are born in the month of the rat with the gooey water day master, you use passion to give direction to your thinking. And that big picture focus keeps ideas from wandering too far off of the problem at hand. So you're more likely to be able to solve the problem if you're focusing in the right areas. And then for the ox, you need passion. Definitely need passion. And you also, it helps if you have the idea that your passion isn't just there for ideas. It's there to create something new. So that becomes your goal. And when you have that, that really helps focus your thoughts to the important stuff. And then you can use your flexible thinking with that focus on the important stuff to actually come up with some really creative solutions. Now, if there is a snake, a tiger, a horse, a goat, or a dog in your particular chart or the chart of whoever you're looking at, this is a plus. And if you have the fire bureau, the tiger, horse, and dog, that is the rest of your chart, the rest of your 4 pillars, then you can also use the big picture focus to really, really up your chances of success. Because this is the fire bureau, it helps create passion naturally. And so the passion comes more easily to you. Now, being born at night is an advantage. I'm just repeating that. No real explanation is given except for being born at night. In general, it helps with the transformative properties of the ding. Perhaps that's it. It does tend to weaken the bing, but perhaps that is what is needed. So that's it. I hope this was useful for you guys. And this is the last of the 5 elements. So I don't know if you could watch them all because it's a very long in total time. It's, I think, something around more than 5 hours. So it'll take a while to get through all this. But I really hope this does help at least some of you. And you can leave a comment or email me here if you have any questions. Thanks again.